¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Quad Bennett, welcome. All right, folks, we have quite the amount of things to go through, so let's get started. Folks, before we get started, a couple of things. If you enjoy the content, don't forget, folks, keep hitting that like button. I see you on the YouTubes. If you haven't done so, subscribe. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Follow us here on Twitch, and also there are many different ways that you can support the channel. Consider checking out the merch store, and also join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. We do monthly movie events. We do monthly movie events, and last Saturday we did Dune number 2. So if you want to participate in that, and you can also put suggestions on the movie night suggestions. So you can definitely check that out on the Discord. And of course, if you want to tip your streamer, you can hit the exclamation mark tip. Thank you for your support. Let's get started, folks. Oh yeah. As I'm going through the as I'm going through the Discord, I did see that Echo Resto Dragon posted about the incident that happened in Georgia earlier today, and so far, what we know about the shooting, is that definitely some people, so there were some casualties and injuries, and they caught the person, and the school, the shooter was a student of the school. Man, that's... Yeah, 14-year-old shooter. Did they ever say, like, how the incident went down? Definitely need more guns. That'll fix it. So, 4 killed, 9 injured so far that we know. Not much more information than that. Not much more information than that. Disney off DirecTV because the contract expired. I don't have DirecTV, but I suspect that, like, they wouldn't want to be there anyways, right? Because don't they have, like, their entire ecosystem, like their app? When we find out, not if, when we find out more information, we'll do more updates on that situation in Georgia. But yeah, Oregon banned ghost guns. Yep, we talked about it. We used we used the article that you posted on the Discord. Yes, Oregon joins the 12 other states 12 other states that have banned ghost guns. All right, let's get started, folks.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I mean, I'm not involved. I never went to his island.
So this was clips from the Lex Friedman interview, which is possibly like the most like softball interview that this dude has. And Lex Friedman, by the way, didn't challenge Trump much at all. If you're not prepared to deal with someone like Trump, then I think it's quite frankly irresponsible to then think that you'll be responsibly platforming him.
Fortunately, but a lot of people did.
A lot of people.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was,
Including him, by the way. Okay. Like the asterisk there would be including you, right? Because there's like documented photo and video evidence of you being buddy with Epstein, dude. Like, there's just no way around it. It's a thing that happened.
was a Hale and Hardy type of guy.
What?
He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island.
Okay.
But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be.
I have a question. Like, what are we supposed to gather from this, as from the point of view of this being a presidential candidate? What are we supposed to be gathering from this, anyways? What are we supposed to be gathering from this?
By the way, probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
I don't think anyone really gains anything by listening to any of Lex Friedman's interviews. Yeah, well, I agree with that. True. Jesus rebuke bind. Thank you for the follow.
You just watched Donald Trump's soul leave his body when podcaster Lex Friedman asked him about Jeffrey Epstein's client list. And as you saw, he was pretty uncomfortable taking that question. He was being weird, and I think he was acting awkward, which is so bizarre because Donald Trump, as we all know, is perfectly innocent. It's not like he's ever been accused of sexual misconduct by dozens of women or found liable for rape in...
Yeah, or, has been known to walk into the dressing room of underage girls because he owns the beauty pageant at the time. Yeah.
Court. And most importantly, he definitely doesn't have a connection to Jeffrey Epstein. So why has he been hesitant?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Miss Teen USA. I think I'm pretty sure you're right. we could find out. Yeah. Trump at one point owned Trump owned Miss USA, Miss Universe, and Miss Teen USA pageants.
As Lex put it, about releasing Epstein's list to the public. It's just a little bit strange, right? Now, I'm sure that we're definitely going to get to the bottom of this when he's elected. I'm sure we can count on that list for sure when he gets in office. But on a serious note, I cannot tell you how much I love the fact that he just threw RFK Jr. under the bus. That shit is so hilarious to me. And he thinks that it doesn't make him look more suspicious, but it does. If Jeffrey Epstein comes up and you immediately try to change the subject and talk about RFK's connection, I'm sorry, man. You look a little bit sus, and he should feel awkward and look sus because he is sus. But look, to be fair, he's not wrong about RFK either because, he was also conspicuously friendly with this serial child predator.
You weren't ever on Jeffrey Epstein's jet, were you?
I was on Jeffrey Epstein's jet 2 times. My wife had some kind of relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know your behavior.
No. Oh, no.
Suspicious when the Fox News host, who admitted that he creepily let the air out of his female co-worker's tires so he could give her a ride home to hit on her, is shocked by your confession there. But I don't want to focus too much on RFK Jr. because that's what he wants us to do, but I had to show you that clip because it's funny. But I do want to get back to Trump because I've got to say, I wish that Lex would have stayed on this subject a little bit longer and made him sweat more because he deserves to squirm. Because joking aside, this man is a rapist. Donald Trump is a rapist. We don't have to say alleged. This issue has been adjudicated. He is a rapist. And to be clear, we don't know many of the details about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But what we do know is that he was very close to him for many years, and he was also close to Ghislaine Maxwell too. But don't take it from me. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly.
I forgot about this clip. I wish you well. Bro. Whew. Reports about an active shooter in Appalachian High School started coming in. About 10:20 a.m., law enforcement arrived minutes later. Once they encountered the shooter, he immediately surrendered and was taken to custody. Yeah, from the article you posted, all we know after the aftermath is that 9 people were injured, 4 people were killed. That's 2 students and 2 teachers, and the person who did this was a student, a 14-year-old, who was taken into custody. And so far, there doesn't seem to be, at least as far as we know, a motive published just yet. We don't know what caused this, but yeah. Once we know more, we'll keep an eye out on that story.
I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I...
It's just so sad, like, how we just literally, like, don't value just how little we value the lives of students, of children, and teachers in this country.
I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well.
You've met her numerous times over the years. Have you now? That's pretty interesting. Also, you wish her well. Also, very, very interesting. See, I just don't understand why you would wish a sex trafficker well, unless you really developed a strong bond with them, enough to know them personally. That's just weird. And then to say that public.
Anti Ragul, welcome. Just life in general. Oh, really? Yep. Indeed. Indeed. We don't really value life. Do you support Israel or Palestine? I support life. Okay? I support the right for Palestinian people to be seen as people, and the right for Palestinian people to just not be bombed into oblivion.
Publicly. Also, very, very weird. And I love how Trump will talk about Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew and now RFK Jr., rightfully so, by the way, but pretend like he wasn't oogling women with Epstein on video. He'll pretend like the photographs of him and Epstein don't exist. We've all seen them. Right? And look, I'm fair. Investigate all of these creeps, and if they're found guilty, they can all share a jail cell as far as I'm concerned. But if you actually think that Trump is going to release the Epstein files that would possibly implicate himself further, I've got a bridge to sell you.
Trump has left the building. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the
Get out of here.
There's a reason.
Do you think the U.S. will stop helping Ukraine if Trump becomes president? I don't know.
Reason why he's very awkward and fidgety whenever this issue comes up. But of course, his supporters are stupid enough to believe him. For example, DC Drano, one of the largest pro-Trump accounts on Twitter with 1.7 million followers, shared the video that we just watched and responded saying, "Whoa, Trump plans to release the Jeffrey Epstein client list. Now you know why he was almost assassinated. The most powerful, evil people in America will do anything to stop the truth from coming out. He was on the fucking list, you simple bitch." But a bunch of pro-Trump NPCs echo the same sentiment in the reply, saying this is why they're trying to stop him, and the truth will always come out, and oh, the CIA isn't gonna like this. And on top of that, some dipshit took the time to share an image with Biden, Walz, Harris, Pelosi, and others, and Jeffrey Epstein, and the only person in this photo who was actually associated with Epstein was Bill Clinton. Nobody else has a connection with Jeffrey Epstein, which is why you had to Photoshop them in, but you don't have to Photoshop pictures of Trump and Epstein together because those pictures are real. So you have to remember that we are not dealing with the brightest bulbs here. They will accept whatever Donald Trump tells them. If he tells them to deny their lying eyes and forget about the photographs of...
I mean, they already do, right? Like, he literally told them that the election was stolen, and they believe it with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. No real legitimate evidence whatsoever. None that could none that could even pass for evidence. Nothing, and they just believed him.
Him and Epstein all together, pretend like they didn't see them when we all know that they did. They'll do it like good little sheep because that's what they do. We're talking about NPCs here, but I do want to talk.
It's a cult, man. It's a cult. It is a literal cult. One that probably should be studied.
About some other parts of this interview because it was an hour long and Trump ended up talking a little bit too much and admitted things that he probably shouldn't admit. Case in point.
Whenever we use terms like communism for her, and I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
They do.
The difference is you are a fascist, bro. You literally exhibit fascist ideals. You are a fascist. Whereas Kamala doesn't exhibit any sort of communist ideology at all. You're just using it as a scare tactic. He's right that fascist is much worse than communist. True.
Indeed. It's just sometimes...
It's interesting, though. They'll call me something that's terrible, and then I'll hit them back. And they'll say, isn't it terrible what Trump said? I said, well, wait a minute. They just called me. So I believe you have to fight fire with fire.
So he's admitting that he doesn't actually believe Kamala Harris is a communist, not that he knows what a communist is in the first place.
Right, because it's not about like whether or not it's true, which is, I think, what Mike was saying earlier. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, right? He doesn't believe that, as he clearly admitted. He doesn't believe that Kamala is a communist, because she's not. Whereas he is a fascist, as much as he wants to deny it. He is a fascist, not because we just want to call him a fascist, because it sounds bad. We call him a fascist because that's the ideology that he is championing, exhibiting, and fascists believe he's fascist because they also agree and align with the with the words that he's saying. Doesn't matter if he actually believes in any of it or not. The point being is that fascists believe that he is fascist, or at the very least, if you want to be, if you want to be as charitable as possible, if you could call that charitability. But anyways, at the very least, they believe he is an ally. The fascists believe he's an ally, and you know what? That's enough for me. If you're displaying a fascist ideology, if you are adulating dictators and other fascists, if other fascists and Nazis think that you are at least their ally, like, dude, you're a fascist. Sorry, it doesn't matter if whether or not you believe that you are a fascist. You are. It doesn't matter if you fundamentally, deep down, don't care about any of this. You are. You are propping up fascism.
But that right there is an admission that he's only calling her a communist because he's mad that Democrats are calling him a fascist. But communist and fascist aren't subjective labels like poopy head or idiot. These are words with actual definitions.
Right, like exactly. And he calls Kamala Harris a communist simply for the fact of calling her something that, quote unquote, his cult will deem as bad. When that's not the case, versus like when he gets called a fascist, it's true.
And it's just objectively true that Kamala Harris is not a communist, unfortunately. No sitting Democrat is a communist. However, it is true that Trump is a fascist. He meets the criteria for fascism, ranging from authoritarianism to his us versus them rhetoric. It is undeniable that he is a fascist. But it's
nationalism, this fetishizing of the police state. Yeah.
Not surprising that he's been lying about Kamala Harris being a communist, because he lies about everything. If he's opening his mouth, you can, assume he's lying, because he's just always fucking lying, because he is impulsively dishonest. But there's one more moment that I do want to share from this interview. So Lex Fridman asks him about his election denialism and what he would say to independents who are turned off by that rhetoric. Take a guess as to what he's going to say to assuage their concerns. Just take a wild guess.
The election was stolen, and people are just going to have to accept the fact that I won in 2020, and I will win in 2024, because if I don't win, then it's rigged.
I'm an independent. I have a lot of friends who are independent.
Yeah. Okay, dude.
Many of whom like your policies, like
my brother in Christ. If you like Donald Trump's policies, I can guarantee that there is a 99.999% chance that you are not an independent. Okay?
the fact that you're a deal maker, like the fact that you can end wars, but they are troubled by what happened in the 2020 election and statements about widespread fraud and this kind of stuff, fake electoral scheme. What can you say to those independent?
Bro, this is so freaking weak. This is so weak, man. Something so serious like, oh yeah, and just that Just that little, fake elector scheme, Bro, he tried to steal an election, dude. Can we rewind that for a second?
That you can end wars, but they are troubled by what happened in the 2020 election and...
You mean like the insurrection that he encouraged? I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Statements about widespread fraud and this kind of stuff. Fake.
That was not true. You have to caveat these things, man. This is so freaking irresponsible.
Electoral scheme. What can you say to those independent voters to help them decide who to vote for?
I think the fraud was on the other side. I think the election was a fraud.
Yeah, cool. Nailed it. Nailed it. At this point, Lex Friedman should have stopped him and be like, well, what's the evidence for fraud? Okay? You've been talking about this for 4+ years at this point. You've been talking about election fraud for 4 freaking years, man. Either put up or shut up. Jesus Christ.
And many people felt it was that, and they wanted answers. And when you
so when these clowns started drinking the Kool-Aid and believed that there was so much fraud that it would change the outcome of the election, they took it to court and they were shot down almost every single time. At no point, legally speaking, has any legitimate evidence been produced to substantiate the claim that there was so much fraud that the election was fraudulent and needed to be overturned, or could have been overturned to favor Trump. It just didn't happen. It just did not happen. Okay, that amount of voter fraud would be so massive that we would find out. It's just not. It didn't happen. It simply did not happen. The things that Donald Trump has been claiming for 4 years, it just didn't happen.
Can't challenge an election. You have to be able to challenge it.
You did.
Otherwise, it's going to get...
You did, bro, and you lost. You did, and you lost.
Get worse, not better.
I'm sure the people concerned about the lies you're spreading about widespread fraud will be convinced after hearing you talk about widespread fraud for the 800th time. Very persuasive, Donald Trump. Thank you so much. Even though these lies are demonstrably hurting him, he is incapable of shutting the fuck up about how the 2020 election was stolen from him. But
yeah, and Lex Friedman, did he have any type of rebuttal to that? Was he like, hey man, that didn't happen, bro?
But to be fair, he does move on from election fraud relatively quickly and ends up talking about undocumented immigrants for, I kid you not, almost 3 minutes. Just goes on and on and on, uninterrupted. Now, Lex Friedman, unsatisfied with that answer, obviously, he gives him one more chance to try to reach out to people who are turned off by the election denialism. And as you're going to see, it doesn't go any better.
So a lot of people believe that there was some shady stuff that went on with the election.
No,
whether it's media bias.
It doesn't matter. It does. Entertaining this is so ridiculous, right? Entertaining this is so ridiculous and irresponsible.
But still, the claim of widespread fraud is the thing that bothers people.
Well, I don't focus on the past. I focus on the future. I mean, I talk about how bad the economy is, how bad inflation is, how bad things like which is important. Afghanistan was, in my opinion, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to our country. And because of that, I think Putin went in. When he saw how stupid we were, Putin went in. But it was the most embarrassing moment in the...
Wait, what? What does this have to do with election denialism, bro?
History of our country. I really believe that.
So after lying about the last election being stolen again, he then says he doesn't focus on the past because he focuses on the future, only to then talk about the past and bring up how disastrous Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was. It's almost poetic how fucking stupid and contradictory this man is. And listen, I have my criticisms of Biden, but that's not one of them. He actually did what Trump promised to do. He withdrew from Afghanistan. So Trump is reminding all of us that Biden did what he wouldn't do. Not really a smart ploy. Biden wouldn't have had to have withdrawn from Afghanistan if Trump kept his word. Now, as for Lex Fridman, I don't like that he paid lip service to Trump's fraud claims because media bias is not tantamount to election fraud. When you live in a late-stage capitalist society, media is going to be biased. It's going to be filtered through a corporate lens. So if you're going to interview a former president who has incited an insurrection literally and was indicted for a conspiracy to overturn the last election, you need to be ready to push back. And Lex did not do that. Now, to be fair, he did ask some good questions that made Trump uncomfortable, but there was no real pushback. Now, another example.
Freeman isn't there to challenge anyone or do any journalism. He's there to give his guests a friendly place to say what they want to say with less weed than Rogan. Yeah, clearly.
Lex asked him about Project 2025, which is good. Now, Trump said the same exact thing that he said every single time. He feigned ignorance. I'm not going to play the clip because you already know what Trump said if you've heard anything about his comments before. So after that, you can't just accept his answer and move on. You need to press him further because he's lying, but Lex did not do that. He needed to follow up. You know, Trump's vice presidential running mate wrote the foreword for the book of the author of Project 2025, who also happens to be the president of the organization leading the effort. Trump also implemented 64% of the Heritage Foundation's policy the last time he was president. So why should we expect him to not do the same thing again when it comes to Project 2025? These are some of the questions that Lex could have asked him to follow up, but he didn't ask follow-up questions, and that's really disappointing. But with that being said, it's not the worst interview I've seen with Trump. I mean, certainly it was a softball to an embarrassing extent, but still, some of Lex's questions did make Trump visibly uncomfortable, so I mean, credit where it's due. But if you want to watch the full thing and decide for yourself, I'm going to link to it down below. But these were the moments that I found to be the most interesting.
All right, we got a new scandal, folks. A new Kamala scandal.
There she is in Detroit. She changed her accent when she was there in Detroit. For speaking with an accent that critics are panning as cringeworthy.
Some people are accusing her of using an accent we've never heard her use before.
Oh, by God, gee golly, we got a bona fide Kamala Harris scandal on our hands. Let's check out the clip.
Kamala Harris was called out after her campaign event in Detroit yesterday for speaking with an accent that critics are panning as cringeworthy. Judge for yourself. Watch.
You better thank a union member. For the 5-day work week, you better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Yeah, let's not, like, never mind, like, what she's talking about, because, like, she's right. Never mind talking about, like, what unions have done for the working class. Let's talk about the real issues here, you know? Like, faking an accent.
Oh, I love shit like this. Critics are saying she was called out. Some people are saying this. I'm not sure who. Maybe Fox News with millions of viewers were doing it, but critics are saying it. No critics mentioned in the piece. I'll get to how the clip ends because even they seem to want to get off the topic. This is the scandal?
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not just this one clip. We are talking several Fox News shows latching on to Kamala Harris having an accent, I guess. Let's say she is putting on an accent. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares? Donald Trump tried to steal an election in a variety of ways, including with a fake slate of electors.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. This is like tan suit vibes. Okay. This is like tan suit gate. Okay. Localist Party, welcome. Michael Hassler, welcome. Code switching, so?
You're telling me this is newsworthy for Fox News? Even Fox News. Let me get to how that clip ends.
The horrible events of September 11th continue to leave their mark on our nation.
I mean, I don't know. The crowd seemed to like it.
Yep.
This happens. You think of like Obama and Hillary Clinton was kind of. Who does? Trump doesn't really do this.
No.
His accent is New York, no matter where he goes.
He is who he is. You're right.
Indeed.
So the
Yeah.
The president came out addressing reporters on Thursday, and he was wearing this tan suit.
President Obama's decision to wear a light tan suit at yesterday's news conference. He was wearing a tan suit.
Light tan suit.
I think it was shocking to a lot of people. Is this an effort to make him look warmer?
No way I think any of us can excuse what the president did yesterday. I mean, and then for him to walk out, I'm not trying to be trivial here, but in a light suit, light tan suit.
Also known as Tangate.
Tangate.
Tan suit, and how the tan suit made him look unpresidential.
Whoever talked him into going into a tan suit, they're so desperate because of these low poll numbers, they're willing to do anything.
The tan suit made him look unpresidential.
Yeah. That's the level we're getting at here.
former Speaker of the House.
All right, let me try and quote old Billy Hemmer there, who clearly wanted to get off the topic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Oh, he really is himself. I think that was the extent of the, the commentary there. Just like, what is this story? We are reaching tan suit territory now.
Oh my goodness.
So, there's more.
He said it. He said it. By the way, I did not watch this video beforehand, okay?
Another clip here. Let me start with the Fox and Friends first. They're the first to the big stories in the morning.
So, David, we want to ask you about this clip of Kamala Harris from yesterday. She's making a speech in Detroit, and it's getting a lot of attention because some people are accusing her of using an accent we've never heard her use before. Listen to this.
You better thank a union member for vacation time.
So she made that exact same speech in Pennsylvania a few hours later and did not sound like that. So what do you think about this? Should we be focusing on it?
Yeah, you know what? Focus on it to examine or to at least see the fakery. She was in Georgia a week ago and suddenly she had a Georgia accent.
Ah, yes, of course. It's important to focus on this issue because of the fakery.
Yeah, the fakery. Got it.
That is Kamala Harris. Not like our candidate, Donald.
Just joined, so it's Pandergate.
Trump, who's the real deal, speaks to the working man. This guy who only cares about everybody else, doesn't care about himself at all, did things like, he promised guaranteed health care. Everybody would be covered under his plan. Guaranteed health care. He promises on camera in 2015, you're all going to be covered. The government's going to pay for it. And then he became president. And then what happened? And that's one lie. The idea
A politician running for office talking differently in different places never happened before. Never.
If we're going to be comparing fake people here, the idea that Kamala Harris is the faker of the two, to me, is completely insane. Donald Trump, even his supporters, I think many of his supporters realize he only cares about himself, despite what he may say. All he talks about is himself. It's like they like him because of his dumb.
If I went to an Irish area and then put on an Irish accent to appeal to your vote, it's only the Irish that would see the offense. Well, let me know who's offended, okay? Let me know when you find somebody that's offended. Like, they're not the clowns on Fox News aren't saying that it's offensive, okay? Nobody in that clip has said that it was offensive. The only thing that they're saying is that, like, she's being fake, okay? That's about as much as you can get. Oh, she's being fake because she's putting on an accent or talking differently in different areas. But nobody has come out and been like, hey, whoa, like, you're being offensive. She's fake. So, like, I don't know, man. That's a no-go. Black America's offended at the pandering Fox News comes very low in the consideration. Yeah, it's about racism, too.
Mass personality, but it's very clear he is not fighting for anybody else except for himself. Look, like any politician, there are actual criticisms that I'm sure they could raise about Kamala Harris, things that they could point to and say, hey, this wasn't good for people that she did this thing. The accent has nothing to do with anything, but it makes good TV, which is what Fox News is obviously
Tim Pool. Poor Tim Pool.
There is more. So
wait, did I line up the clip? Oh no, I have the Dookie clip. Never mind.
Another clip here.
Here she is in Detroit. She changed her accent when she was there in Detroit because she was speaking to a group that has that similar accent, and so she did the same.
It's hard to truly appreciate the commentary there until you read it. There she is in Detroit. She changed her accent when she was there in Detroit because she was speaking to a group that, has that similar accent. And so she did the same.
It's more about her fakery in lieu of any policy. Well, that's not the criticism that Fox News is deploying. If you want to criticize, like, policy or lack thereof, then just say that. Right?
They are so completely awkward in their attempts here to cover this news story that they themselves created. Critics are saying it. Many people are saying it. So Fox News is reporting on what we ourselves are saying. Weird stuff. There's one more clip. There's probably more examples of this, but I'll only have one more. This is Maria Bartiromo.
You better thank a union member for vacation time.
I think they're trying to continue the she suddenly became black narrative, but it just doesn't have legs. Yeah. Plus, like, honestly, like, nobody freaking cares, man. Who takes their cues from Fox News? Who cares what Fox is saying about this? The conversation is about dunking on Fox News because that's what they're focusing on. Like, that's what Fox News is focusing on, who has millions of viewers, okay? Who cares what Fox News is saying? Unfortunately, millions of people, okay? And this is the kind of clown show that they're running.
It's like a Southern accent, it sounds like, Congressman.
She must have got the blueprint from Hillary Clinton. I don't know what's up with that accent. But, wow. I mean, even the union workers are united with us where they do not want this price fixing.
But what? The union workers are united with Trump? What are you talking about?
Do people whose accent she is faking watch Fox? I don't understand what relevance that has. The point is to dunk on Fox News for this whole nothing burger. That's the whole point.
Okay, just got... All right.
Yeah, not the point, exactly.
Before I get to whatever actual policy was discussed there, Southern accent, I thought the whole criticism was that she was trying to, be a chameleon, blend in with the crowd in Detroit, Michigan. Famously not in the South, but apparently it's a Southern accent now. So who knows what's going on at this point? Who knows what the actual criticism is? But I love that conservatives now, or I should say Republicans.
No, conservatives.
The defense about...
No, conservatives. Okay, conservatives. Republicans are conservative. All Republicans are conservative. And in particular, the Republican Party is the one that's essentially wrapped up in this.
What they're calling price fixing. Kamala Harris is addressing a serious issue that people are feeling. The cost of everything. And doing it with some proposals. You could argue she's not actually going to implement them because they're maybe a little too strict on corporations, but the proposals are not the issue here. You have Republicans now defending greedflation, defending the fact...
It wasn't even an accent. She adjusted her voice to sound more rhythmic. I do it all the effing time. Not your point, I get that, but I get that Fox is a right-wing broadcast trying to grift off offense by the black community who will not be voting for her. What? That's not what's happening at all. Dude, this must be a sea lion. I could see why you were probably banned from Tina's chat. This has nothing to do with anything. You're just saying stuff into the void.
That massive corporations have been using the guise of inflation to jack up their prices while making massive profits. You can look this up. The profit margins that companies have enjoyed since COVID have been astronomical. Ask yourself why these companies are making so much damn money while people can't afford anything. The issue here is not inflation. The issue is, first of all, low wages, major piece of it. The other issue is the fact that these companies are using the actual inflation that is going on as a way to jack up their prices. And this has been ongoing. So, fine. You want to defend the cost of goods? Go right ahead. See how that works out for you.
Kamikaze, welcome.
has a poll that shows that Reuters has a poll that shows that Harris has neutralized Donald Trump's edge on the economy among Hispanic voters. Look, we got now really 2 solid months. 63 days, 2 solid months moving forward.
I talked to Americans from all stripes from all 50 states and several U.S. territories, and what VP Harris did was not a change of accent. Yeah, I don't know. It's just Fox News, like being Fox News. Like they're trying to create a scandal out of nothing. Okay, like even if it was the case, like David said, even if it was the case that she was purposely trying to change her accent to appeal to people, like who cares, right? And like these clowns, and these clowns on Fox News are acting as if like this is like the biggest scandal that they've been able to land on. That's it. It's just a Fox News dunk fest. That's all that a Fox News dunk segment, essentially what that was. Yeah, it's a whole big nothing burger. That's what it is.
We're going to see interest rates are probably going to be cut in the next couple of weeks. We're already seeing mortgage rates going down. Gas is about 50 cents cheaper than it was a year ago in terms of Labor Day. I don't know where the economy is heading 6 months out or 4 months out or 5 months out. There's a lot of different mixed signals. But at least at the moment, I think that there's 2 things that are happening. One is that people are feeling a little bit more optimistic about the economy. We still have a massive housing shortage. But I think they're really basically just saying, in general, they think that Biden is competent to wrap up the presidency, but to wrap it up. And they think that Harris is just generally more competent than Biden at this point.
They like her better, and they like her policy proposals better based on what we're
Yeah, and like the idea that this clown yesterday was trying to come in here and tell me that like one of the biggest issues is the economy, and therefore like people trust Trump more. That's not happening. What they were actually saying is she didn't sound white.
we're seeing from polling. I mean, when's the last time in your lifetime you've seen a Democratic nominee within the margin of error generally on the economy? That was poll numbers last week of the Republican candidate. Yep. I mean, Republicans always win on the economy my entire lifetime.
This is
Hi, this is Senator Bernie Sanders. There is clearly not a lot of time left in this election.
I didn't expect to see a Bernie Sanders ad.
Voters overall favor Trump's approach to the economy over Harris's by 45 to 36% in this poll.
Right.
Hispanic registered voters viewed them equally, each at 39%. This is also going to, this is why you're starting to see Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia are all in play in a way that they weren't for Joe Biden.
Yep.
We're seeing a turn, and
there's no guarantee that, like, by the way, just to be very clear, like, there's no guarantee that, like, Kamala Harris is going to win, right? There's no guarantee that she's going to win, and it's quite possible. It's quite possible that she might not. But in comparison, a month and something ago, it is a world of difference.
Here is,
I mean, like, Biden was losing the majority, if not most of the Biden was losing most of the swing states that determined the election. We've gone from a situation where the Democratic presumed nominee at the time was heading to a disaster to now it's more favorable. She does have a good chance. Certainly much better. Certainly much better than Biden has.
This, I guess, was from Friday. Yep. This is a YouGov poll showing the swing states. Sunbelt now in play.
I mean, she added a swing state, which is North Carolina.
Yes.
Like, there were 6 swing states under Biden, and now there's 7.
And let's be clear, in North Carolina, I mean, there's a certain baseline that Harris is raising all of her numbers in these Sunbelt states. But North Carolina, the edge, if she were to take North Carolina, which again, long shot, but what's the name of that governor?
I don't think it's a long shot. I think, well,
it's a long shot in terms of like
Mark Robinson.
Robinson is pulling that ticket down.
Yeah.
And this is very much like we may be seeing sort of a similar dynamic in Pennsylvania with, that.
It's definitely a similar dynamic in Nevada with abortion being on the ballot. Jackie Rosen's also leading by double digits, and in Arizona, where
I'm saying like in Pennsylvania in 2022,
right,
where
the Mastriano
running
effect
for governor, just
Yes,
like depressed enthusiasm on the Republican side. And this may be happening in North Carolina too, because the Republican Party has to support their nominee, and they begin to look bad in conjunction with that. Trump is out there saying, this is the guy to vote for, and
Robinson will lose, Trump will win. We are a reverse ticket state.
Robinson, I think, got through that primary because of Trump's support. And so it begins to reflect poorly on him.
He has like 1 million anti-Semitic QAnon Facebook posts, Mark Robinson, just if people want to do a quick Google search on this.
And apparently in the Republican Party, the maximum is just 100,000.
Right. He exceeded the total.
Exactly. Here are the swing states according to YouGov right now. In all swing states, Harris is +2. That is sort of a meaningless term. But in Arizona, it's at 48%, statistically tied. Again, these are all within the margin of error, except for Georgia, she's up +2. Michigan, she's up +3. Nevada, up +4. Maybe that's slightly outside the margin of error.
She was up a lot more in Michigan. I'll just note that.
Yep.
And Republicans are running ads in Michigan as a part of a RADF. We'll get to that, but saying how pro-Israel she is.
North Carolina +2, Pennsylvania +4, and in Wisconsin +8, which puts her, outside the margin of error there. Now
she just needs Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and then that gets her to 270. So now there's
Wisconsin,
multiple paths.
Pennsylvania, yes.
Yep.
There's either the Rust Belt sort of strategy or the Sun Belt strategy. They're not mutually exclusive, but it would be rare to pull off both. But they're basically now both campaigns are basically just laser focused on those 7 states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And that's, they're going to spend 90% of their time there over the next 60 days.
I always come back to the train metaphor. The people in the engine moving slightly forward are staring at the link pin holding the other cars on the train, while the majority of the rest of the people are rocking the train, throwing anchors overboard, trying to drag the train to stop. They're repeating to themselves, all we have to do is just pull the pin and the ride becomes so much faster and smoother with no wasted fuel. Sounds like capitalism. Michigan is in doubt, Gaza. Yeah, but it's a must need, right? If she can't win the other swing states, if she can't win the Sun Belt, Michigan is one of the, 3 states that she needs?
There was a story in the Boston Globe where one of the well-placed volunteers on the Trump campaign in New Hampshire said, it's over in New Hampshire. He's going to lose here worse than he did in 2016.
What a weak, fragile echo chamber, bro. Feel free to come to my channel when Trump destroys Harris. I won't ban you or time you out either. Bro, this is my house, dude. You can't be mad at the rules of my own house. You can't be mad walking into somebody's house and being mad that the rules make you triggered. Okay? You can have whatever rules you want in your house. Okay?
16 and 2020. And then they fired that guy.
Politics means more than one opinion. That's not what politics means, dude.
Can't have those bad vibes.
Yeah, that's not, that's bad juju. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. is trying desperately. You remember I guess when he decided to drop out, this happened last week too, didn't it? When he decided to drop out and support Donald Trump in really what is one of the more grotesque sort of like transactional things I've ever seen.
Seriously. So freaking true, man. So true.
Having been friendly with Bobby and friends with Bobby to some extent, I mean, I'm not, we didn't hang out together, but we did a radio show together from a distance. This is one of the most transactional things I've ever seen him do and could imagine him doing, frankly.
Trump?
no.
Engaged in the transaction with another
Well, I'm
guy?
talking about Kennedy.
I know.
The idea.
It'll be razor thin electoral college like it always is with the crushing Dem popular vote.
Yeah.
If the Democrats win, it'll be exactly like that. Mm-hmm.
That he had was, speaking of him, am going to stay on the ballot in blue and red states in an attempt to build some type of party or something, get 5%. I don't. Maybe it sounds to me like a way of like basically saying to his vice presidential candidate, who he took all this cash from, like, we're going to do this, and your money will not have been spent in vain.
She wants to run them to field a candidate for governor in California. She's been saying.
Yeah, we'll still be able to grift those people.
Exactly, and but he is stuck on the ballot in, I think it's 3 states now. Wisconsin and maybe Michigan and North Carolina. But he really wants to get off in North Carolina because he thinks that's where he's drawing the most from Donald Trump.
Yep.
And they are very concerned, I think, in the Trump campaign that they're going to lose North Carolina. Kennedy is not doing this. He's not freelancing this. No. They're telling him this was all part of the negotiations. You've got to get off the ballot in these places. This was not his determination. You want a job, and they're just going to basically put him on the head of a commission to basically say that I mean, they'll put him on the transition team, but he's going to be so iced out. It's going to be amazing. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I also like the one thing. Kennedy is very smart.
Poly, which means many. Yeah, poly means many. A polygon means a many-sided. Yes, I understand that.
Smart in some way.
I'm representing one side of politics, okay? How I choose to run my own channel has nothing to do with whether or not you are crying about one side not being represented or how I run a channel. That has nothing to do with that.
But this is not somebody you want to put in charge of organizing things. He's going to have ideas, and then when people carry it out, it's all just going to get iced out. He's going to get all those ideas are going to be sidelined. The one thing he'll maybe get his commission where he can look at, and drive like anti-vax organization numbers.
Not good for the weird allegations, I'll say.
No, but they are trying to get their name off of the North Carolina ballot. These states have statutes. We saw this on the flip side when you couldn't get onto the ballot if you were nominated after a certain date in some of these states, like Ohio, for instance. You can't get off the ballot because they've already started to send out absentee ballots. So I don't think he's going to get out off the ballot in North Carolina. And it's going to be ironic that if he ends up helping Harris in North Carolina.
It'd be delicious, I think is what you meant to say.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're a conservative, you need to vote for RFK. I do agree with some conservative values, but not the majority of propaganda and sanity what passes for conservatism in recent decades. You're assuming that this is a good faith, you're assuming that this is a good faith troll. No, they're just a sea lion cognizant.
Amazing. Although, Bobby can take secondary credit because, as we mentioned before, the big driver would definitely be Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's Trump's fault because Trump endorsed that guy. So chicken's coming home to roost.
Indeed.
RFK and Cornell are both on here.
Kennedy tried to get back onto the ballot in New York. He cannot, which is, his father was senator from New York State. So a big missed opportunity for his whatever 5% stuff. But of course, Trump is now going around and campaigning with Tulsi Gabbard. So he got Jimmy Dore's vote. But
Perfect.
He's to the left of all you guys now.
Doesn't matter. I can engage trolls too. Oh, you can engage them. It's just exhausting. You know, like there's nothing gained from that. And I even gave them the benefit of the doubt earlier. I even gave them the benefit of the doubt earlier. It's not like, yeah, of course you can engage with them. I'm stringing along a doozy of a troll on YouTube for the last 17 months. Oh, man. And Beckaroos Renegade, thank you for the follow. Tim Pool's going to jail. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I see what you're saying, Cognizant. Like, you could probably do that, but it's just like... I'm tired, you know? Like, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun to string along a troll for a bit and have some fun with them. But it's just... This is just a personal opinion. This is just a personal opinion, but it's just like I get nothing out of it most of the time, you know? I get nothing out of it. Me personally. I'm just saying. Like, I don't know. Non-binary, Tim Pool's going to jail. He just got indicted by the DOJ as a co-conspirator. Did he actually get indicted, or is there, like, are they looking into a potential connection between, like, I think it was, like, this it was like an RT guy who was getting looked at by the DOJ, and there are connections between like Jimmy Dore, Dave Rubin, you know, the classics, right? I'm sorry, not Jimmy Dore. Tim Pool is who I meant to say. Although Jimmy Dore is probably in there somewhere too. It is tiring. They have all this Discord DMs, and they have him discussing how they knew where the money they knew the money they were getting was from Russians. Oh well, I mean, if that ends up happening, man, whew. If that ends up happening, man, that would be a that would be worthy of bringing out the crab rave. That would be worthy of bringing out the crab rave. Want to see an expert of my YouTube troll? Sure. Is it a sanction violation? I don't know. Wolfglen, welcome. Does Tim get to wear the beanie in federal prison? It's a threat of theism versus atheism. Oh, no. It sounds like you're saying that you let a bunch of non-perfect beings dictate your individual choices, you know. And knowing you have the capacity for individual creativity, right? If we are like branches of a tree of life, do you want to be a branch that is tangled up by other neighboring branches, or be terrified of letting go of being tangled up by another branch? If so, I think that sucks, and I'm a theist. I mean, if Tim Pool is going to get indicted, I will definitely keep a lookout on that. This is what we have so far. The Biden administration seized Kremlin-run website and charged 2 Russian state media employees in its sweeping effort to push back against what it says are Russian attempts to spread disinformation ahead of the November election. The measures, which in addition to indictments also include sanctions and visa restrictions, represented a U.S. government effort just weeks before the November election to disrupt a persistent threat from Russia that American officials have long warned has the potential to sow discord and create confusion among voters. Washington has said that Moscow, which intelligence officials have said have a preference for Republican Donald Trump, remains a primary threat to elections, even as FBI continued to investigate a hack by Iran this year that targeted the presidential campaigns of both political parties. The Justice Department's message is clear. We will have no tolerance for attempts by authoritarian governments to exploit our democratic system of government. One criminal case disclosed by the Department of Justice accuses 2 employees of RT, a Russian state media company, of covertly funding a Tennessee-based content creation company with nearly $10 million to publish English-language videos on social media platforms, including TikTok and YouTube, with messages in favor of the Russian government interest and agenda, including about the war in Ukraine. The nearly 2,000 videos posted by the company have gotten more than 16 million views on YouTube alone. The 2 defendants, Konstantin Kalishnikov and Elena Afansieva, are charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering and violating Foreign Agents Registration Act. They are at large. It was not immediately clear if they have lawyers. The Justice Department says the company did not disclose it was funded by RT and that neither it or its founders registered as required by law by agents of a foreign principal. Though the indictment does not name the company, it describes it as a Tennessee-based content creation firm with 6 commentators and with a website identifying itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. That description exactly matches Tenet Media, an online company that hosts videos made by well-known conservative influencers Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and others. Johnson and Pool both responded with posts on X, on the platform formerly known as Twitter, calling themselves victims, calling Russian President Putin a scumbag. Pool wrote that should these allegations prove true, I, as well as the other personalities and commentators, were deceived. Yeah, sure. Whatever, dude. I guess we'll know more if Tim Pool actually gets in trouble or not. So, Republicans go on about people that like kids being connected to schools and have repercussions to those lies. I could say the same thing of you. In my opinion, perfect beings cannot exist. If they did, they would be disruptive to ever-changing nature of things. Setting that aside, in my experience, theists do not listen to the wisdom of the perfect beings they believe they worship. Instead, they listen to the non-perfect beings who they say communicate with the perfect being. A great many of these non-perfect beings use that authority to not enlighten listeners, but further their own corrupt needs of greed, power, seeking, and political influence in the name of their perfect beings, sullying the reputation of themselves and the perfect beings they represent. If there are some sort of moral lessons to be learned, in my opinion, they can be more easily learned in a simpler way without all the baggage of a corruptible system of worship and an unprovable perfect being. Yeah, no lies detected so far. It appears the government has already access to the Discord. Oof, yeah, I think that's what the other chatter was saying. Non-binary. Yeah, I mean, if it ends up being the case that Tim Pool is going to end up, if Tim Pool is going to end up in some kind of like federal case, oof. Posted a story in news. Jesus. In other news, the Pope wants more babies. 2 people arrested after they reported blocked loaded school bus with vehicle approached bus with a gun. Jesus Christ. 2 people were arrested after they reportedly tried to use a vehicle to block a school bus filled with students and then attempted to confront the bus with a gun. Holy yikes. Jesus. And earlier today, there was a... we were talking about the school shooting that happened. Jesus Christ. Sorry for the spam. No, you're good. So to close So chap, welcome. This happened walking distance from my house. Holy yikes. To close the Kamala accent gate up, to tie it up nicely with a bow and tie and everything.
A different topic. Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
she was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that you think...
Same line...
Okay, Peter,
that she used the same line...
Dookie!
Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care... You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about... Your colleague just asked me about... What basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president. It's just hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is...
The question, I'm talking about the questions is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings here?
I'm just... Peter, we're moving on. We're still moving around. Go ahead, Anita.
Thanks. Starting with Ukraine and this recent attack, has a shift of...
Okay, interesting exchange there with Peter Doocy. We have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., former independent presidential candidate, now member.
And they just like cut away after they cut Dookie off. Zachap, welcome. When did she turn black? Yeah. Man, these people, I'm telling you. It's pure racism. All this talk about when did she turn whatever. I'm still wondering how did people turn so. Yeah, it's just as Michael Hassler pointed out. It's just a whole big nothing burger that you're supposed to be like angry about with the racism undertones. Want to talk about hearing a news anchor talk about sexual assaulting a vice president like your news also did? Yeah, exactly. That's a thing that happened. That's a thing that happened for long. Was it Jesse Waters who did that? Yeah, it was Jesse Waters, right? God, what a freaking disgusting weirdo. And when did Trump turn Christian? All right, so this is Tim Pool's statement. My statement regarding allegations and the leaked DOJ indictment, should these allegations prove true, I as well as other personalities and commentators were deceived and are the victims. I cannot speak for anyone else at the company as to what they do or what they were instructed. The Culture War podcast was licensed by Tenet Media. It existed well before any license agreement with Tenet, and it will continue to exist after any such agreement expires. The only change with this agreement was the location of the live broadcast moved to Tenet's YouTube channel. Never at any point did anyone other than I have full editorial control of the show, and the contents of the show are often apolitical. Examples include discussing spirituality, dating, and video games. Oh boy. Oh boy. The show is produced in its entirety by a local team without input from anyone external to the company. TCW is a separate company not associated with Timcast or other properties. It exists solely for the production of the Culture War podcast. That being said, we still don't know what is true, as these are only allegations. Putin is a scumbag. Russia Sucks. Thanks, Tim. And to the journalists who wish to jump the gun, create their own narrative, or lie about what's currently going on, you can eat. Yeah, thanks, Tim. When he held the Bible upside down to assault peaceful protesters. Yeah, it's the day he became a true Christian. To which General Cedar replies, Tim, I am sorry you have been victimized in this way. To have been gaslit to believe people liked your music and then find out it was all fraudulent must be very difficult for you. Anyway, so that's the final response to that. I'm actually curious to see what actually is going to happen with that, assuming Tim has a deeper connection than he's letting on. I'm actually interested to see. Anyways. Dozens of Republicans filed amicus brief against Tennessee's transgender care ban. Now you're thinking, you must be thinking, like, wait a minute. Republicans supporting supporting trans kids? Republicans are actually filing an amicus brief against a transgender care ban? Wow, what world are we living in? And you might think like, oh, maybe they're actually being principled as they try to explain in the article that they're just holding to their beliefs of small government and that's why they oppose it. Well, it's not that simple. Tim Pocketpool doesn't have any friends. No one's going to help him. And as this article will address, it turns out that Republicans only care when it affects them. Republicans only care when it affects them. More than 30 prominent Republican officials and conservative leaders filed an amicus brief with the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday, opposing a Tennessee law that would bar a transition-related care for minors. Quote, while the government has a role in keeping kids safe, that role is limited, and it does not justify the state second-guessing the judgment of parents acting in good faith who are best positioned to know what their children need, the signatories wrote. States have no business overruling the decisions of fit parents who make an informed medical choice for their children that is supported by the doctors, medical professions more generally, and by the children themselves and by their conscience. The Supreme Court agreed in June to hear the case, L.W. versus Skermeti, as Republican lawmakers in dozens of states have introduced bills to restrict gender-affirming care, including puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgery for minors, and in some states, adults on Medicaid. So far, 26 states, including Tennessee, have adopted such measures. Among the signatories of the amicus brief are 8 Republican members of Congress, Representative Christopher Shays of Connecticut, Ileana Ros-Lehtinen of Florida, keep that name in mind, Connie Morella of Maryland, Susan Molinari of New York, Deborah Price of Ohio, Claudine Schneider of Rhode Island, Barbara Comstock of Denver, Barbara Comstock and Denver Riggleman of Virginia. The list also includes 3 currently serving Republican state lawmakers: Wyoming State Representative Dan Swanister, Missouri State's Representative Sander and Ingalls, and Brian Jones, communicator director for John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign and a senior advisor to Mitt Romney's 2012 failed presidential bid. It is imperative that we come together as Republicans, conservatives, parents, and advocates to stand in support of individual liberties, non-discrimination protections while preserving limited government and parental rights, said Ros-Lehtinen, who has a trans son, in an emailed statement to NBC News. So yeah, they only give a shit. They only give a shit when it affects them. You see, she understands, and somehow is still a Republican, and makes the exact argument that we are making, because we support individual liberty. We support bodily autonomy. We support non-discrimination, while the consistent Republican platform is the opposite. However, because it is affecting her, and because she literally has a trans son, this is the only reason why someone like her is speaking out. Ross Letton is the mother of Rodrigo Hangletton, the executive director of Advocates for Trans Equality, formerly the National Center for Transgender Equality, the largest trans rights advocacy group in the country. We can all agree that parents know what's best for their children, and the government should not stand in the way of parents making well-informed decisions, said Ross Letton. This brief emphasizes that the court must recognize that blanket bans pose serious threats to members of the LGBTQ community, limited government, and personal freedom. In addition to arguing that Tennessee laws violate parents' constitutional rights to raise their children, the brief argues that the law violates the Equal Protection Clause by allowing cisgender children who aren't trans to receive puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgery for other reasons. Cisgender children may be prescribed puberty blockers, for example, if they begin puberty too early. The brief marks one of the largest groups of current and former Republican officials to take a stance against restrictions on trans health care after only a handful have publicly opposed such legislation. Sander, one of the Missouri House representatives who signed the amicus brief, opposed state bills to restrict trans health and trans student athletes' participation on school teams last year on the House floor. Last May, when Missouri House voted on the bill to restrict transition-related care for minors, Sander, who is gay, told the AP he was considering leaving his party after Republican colleagues wouldn't allow him to speak on the bill, even though he had his hand raised throughout the vote. So, yeah. It's not a partisan thing to be gay or trans, Sander told reporters after the vote. According to the AP, it has nothing to do with being a Republican or Democrat. They wanted to make it about party politics by zipping my lips. Well, it is party politics, right? One party is trying to essentially take away the rights of a group of people, of minorities. So yeah, it very much is a partisan thing. At least one of the signatories, Wyoming State Representative Zwanter, voted in favor of a state bill to prohibit transition-related care for minors. He said the vote held this past March was rooted in a desire to protect the interests of our state's youth, ensuring that decisions of such profound consequences are made with caution and care. Zwanter said that he supported amendments to the bill, including one that allowed minors to continue receiving psychiatric care to address gender dysphoria, or the distress that results from misalignment between someone's assigned sex at birth or gender. Fireswan, welcome. If Kamala wins, can she run for a second term? Yes. The Supreme Court's forthcoming decision in Scrimeti is about more than a single state ban. It's also about safeguarding Bostock's profound and rightly established federal protections against employment discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity discrimination, he said, referencing the court's 2020 decision in Bostock versus Clayton. Thank you for the follow. No problem. Some legal experts fear that a Supreme Court decision in favor of Tennessee's law could be the first step in undermining key arguments used in Bostock, as they both use Equal Protection Clause to argue against discrimination based on gender identity. Only two Republican governors, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson in 2021 and Mike DeWine, have vetoed bills that limit transition care for minors. Both of those vetoes were overridden by Republican-led legislatures. Though the brief argues that against Tennessee's law, it argues in favor of some measures that LGBTQ right activists are generally supportive of, including that those that would prohibit teachers from disclosing a child's trans identity to their unsupportive parents. If Tennessee and other states with health care restrictions can impose their will on parents, and so can states and local governments that think differently, for instance, by allowing or even requiring schools to shut parents out of discussions regarding their child's gender expression, the brief said. Beyond the gender identity context, there's no end to the kinds of parental decisions that local, state, and federal officials could hijack whenever they think they know better than the parents. Also on Tuesday, more than 160 Democratic members of Congress filed a separate amicus brief calling the court calling Tennessee's law unscientific and dangerous. You know what? I agree with the logic. I agree with the logic. That people like former Representative Ross Lettinen put forth. It's just horrible that you only think this way because you have a trans son, and instead of just being like a good human being and leaving people alone, it's just sad. It's just sad and frustrating. And the other person who supported this amicus brief is gay. So yeah, it's just frustrating because like these people are part of the party that would have them and their son gone. Thing is, we all know that the rest of the party is going to make national bans that bypass state laws. If they have the ability to, I think they would. And it's like, it's pretty frustrating. And it's pretty frustrating and angering that like this person is in the Republican Party, right? Like, how could you be a part of the Republican Party and have a trans child? Knowing what their platform is, knowing that if their real like platform ever got enacted, like her son would be gone. The same goes for the gay representative. I mean, they literally silenced him. They literally silenced him the whole time. Very frustrating. How can you be part of the Republican Party being LGBTQ plus or even handicapped? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Or even any color than white. All right, we got two important election stories. Folks, this definitely needs to be paid attention to. Texas AG, they're willing to sell their soul for any amount of power. That's it. Yeah, up to and including throwing their community or their children under the bus. I just don't get it. Like, I don't get how she can claim to be a part of the Republican Party. It just blows my mind. Texas AG Paxton sues the Democratic county that defied him on voter registration plan. In a warning Monday night, Paxton sought to cast the county voter registration plan as a means of registering non-citizens to vote, something the right wing of the state and national GOP insists is part of the plan by Democrats to steal the election. County leadership defied Paxton on Tuesday when the Board of Commissions voted 3-1 to mail out the registration forms. In a lawsuit filed Wednesday morning in Bexar County District Court, Paxton is demanding that state judges block the registration drive. Quote, despite being warned against adopting this blatantly illegal program that would spend taxpayer dollars to mail registration applications to potentially ineligible voters, Bexar County has irresponsibly chosen to violate the law. Paxton argued on Monday in his filing that on Wednesday that his effort was illegal, a conclusion based on the successful challenge of a Harris County vote-by-mail effort in 2020, which he has credited with winning the state for Trump. Now that last one I attribute more to conservative than Republican cause, because racism is tied to conservatism. I don't disagree with that. But the two situations are very different, said Larry Robertson of Bexar County District Attorney's Office told the Tribune. Texas law places strict limits on who can vote by mail, while voter registration is widely available. At Tuesday's meeting, the private sector contractor whose company won the contract to send out registration forms told commissioners that the return forms are checked against state data from the Department of Public Safety and Federal Social Security Administration records, two steps which he said would keep non-citizens from being registered. The rate of non-citizens voting is effective 0, a May report by Libertarian Cato Institute has found. But that hasn't stopped Texas state Republicans from making it a focus of the 2024 campaign. In the past 3 weeks, Governor Abbott conducted a routine purge of voter rolls to address what he says is a threat of non-citizens voting, while Paxton sent agents to search the homes of Democratic activists and a candidate in South Texas. Paxton also last month announced investigations into allegations of mass registration of non-citizens following an unsubstantiated friend of a friend story posted on social platform Twitter by Maria Bartiromo. Amazing. We've been keeping track about of what's happening on Texas, and it's pretty freaking disturbing. We actually went over that article, that story, where the state came in and started searching the property of these Democratic activists. And the fact that they're so zeroed in on this idea that non-citizens are voting when there's absolutely no evidence to suggest that that's even a thing happening it's just pretty freaking disturbing. Texas is fascism, yeah, no doubt about it. It's all really to ensure an outcome that they favor. It's really to depress the vote, and it's pretty freaking disgusting what Republicans have been doing in Texas regarding this. They're taking essentially people's voice away and pretending under the pretext that they're somehow trying to preserve the election, the integrity of the elections. Republicans are notorious for voting illegally, dead relatives. Yeah, that's true. That's true. The cases, the few cases that have been brought with regards to voter fraud, the overwhelming majority have been Republicans. That's true. Not immigrants, correct. And to piggyback off that election story, Christian group recruits Trojan horse election skeptics as U.S. poll workers. Man, this is another layer of just like how this is gonna play out here. A Christian political operative has teamed up with charismatic preachers to enroll election skeptics as poll workers across the country using a Donald Trump-aligned swing state tour to enlist support in the effort. Joshua Standifier, who leads the group called Lion of Judah, describes the effort as a Trojan horse strategy to get Christians in key positions of influence in government like election workers, which will help them identify alleged voter fraud and serve as the first step on the path to victory this fall. Yeah, if that isn't the biggest red flag, I don't know what is. So essentially, what this translates to is we're going to insert ourselves in very important and key positions so that our guy wins. Yeah. Standifier has been on the road with traveling pro-Trump tent revival featuring self-styled prophets and Christian nationalist preachers that has made stops in key swing states including Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin. He describes himself as a, quote, former Republican opposition researcher who struck out on his own after receiving a message from God to involve Christians in politics. Yeah, I'm sure. You know, if one thing God is interested in is making sure Christians are involved in politics. Yeah. You know, if one thing is on the high list of priorities that God has, is to make sure that Christians are involved in politics. Yeah. Oh, Lordy Lord. God said... Oh man, you can't make this up. Quote, God said, start a group called the Lion of Judah. Start a 501c. Yeah, again, on top of God's priority is make sure you start a 501c. Get out there and help my body come together as one. What? Stanford told a crowd at Courage Tour in Wisconsin earlier this month. According to the Tennessee Business Records, Lions of Truth was incorporated there in 2021 as a non-profit organization. The group's website, which prominently features Trump and his false claims that the 2020 election was rife with fraud, promises to release the roar of Christian voters across America by getting them directly involved with the electoral process. The Lion of Judah's election worker training program, which the Guardian has reviewed, features a series of modules titled "Fight the Fraud: How to Become an Election Worker in 4 Easy Steps." Yeah, that's just pretty like as much as like cringy and like corny this sounds. This is pretty freaking disturbing, man. Not gonna lie. Silly question: if there's an all-powerful super being, why would they need help to stop the voter fraud? Nah, don't think about it too much, okay? Listen, God told me, okay? Listen to me, chat. God told me that tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, I'm gonna need to start a 501c company. Or what is it? The nonprofit, 501c4, okay? Tomorrow. And it is imperative, okay? It is imperative that I start this 501c company to dedicate my life to putting God in politics, okay? Illegal voting for every 10 people is like 8 Republicans intentionally voting illegally, 0.5 Democrats voting illegally accidentally, 0.5 illegal, not misinformed, and 1 Republican voting illegally accidentally. Oh man, and all of that is like a handful of people. Omniscient, omnipresent, and omnivoting. Exactly. Stanford's project so far has largely flown under the radar, which is not great. This should be plastered all over the place. Matthew Taylor, a researcher with the Institute of Islamic, Christian, and Jewish Studies, described the effort in a post on Twitter as a urgent and unrecognized hazard to our democracy this fall. 100%. 100%. And he said he worried it has the potential to sow chaos during the election. All it takes is one or two of those people coming forward and say, hey, I found election fraud, and present dubious evidence to throw an amazing amount of sand in the gears of the voting counting process. Yep. And now just imagine if these people are actually organized. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know like what the total what the depth of organization these people have, but if they have any kind of organization enough to be in several of these key states present and cause a massive problem in these states, that could be serious. That could be serious. I really wish we could stop calling these people Christians. It's like calling a hospice care patient healthy. It was like something like 200,000 out of all votes in the U.S. total. Standifer vehemently rejected the idea that the organization poses a threat to the electoral process and said he founded the group to empower Christians to participate in politics, not to sow doubts in election. Baloney, man. Baloney. Quote, we don't stand for things like that, said Standifer, who said he viewed anxieties about his project as an example of anti-Christian sentiment. Oh, come on. Come on. I want to speak against the rise, I feel like, of bigotry towards Christians that's happening because it's almost offensive. You know, that if this was like any other faith, I don't think there's pushback. No, man. The problem... What? I want to know who made this ad. Anyways, the problem is that you're trying to insert your religion, regardless of what religion it is, into politics. And for two, you're trying to actively disrupt the electoral process, okay? And don't try to freaking gaslight us by saying like, oh, well, you know, we're not saying there's fraud, but we want to make sure that the elections are run properly. Well, then why are you making this effort, man? And why are you posting stuff from Trump denying the 2020 election, dude? You obviously believe that the election was rigged on false evidence or on a false premise. And now you're training a bunch of people, a bunch of these cult members to then, already primed, thinking that the election is going to be rigged, to look for evidence of the crime. Does that make sense? We're working our way backwards, okay? We're working our way backwards. We're not going, okay, we have the evidence that a crime is suspected. No, we know a crime existed. We're just going to find the evidence. So, like, yeah, we're working our way backwards, so to speak. And in this situation, it is incredibly dangerous. We just can't have that. Democracy doesn't operate this way. It cannot operate like this. Not at all. Still, the training for aspiring election workers makes no attempt at non-partisanship. In the first section of the course, participants, well, I guess, yeah. Tomato. Participants are told that having Christians serving as election workers will form the first step on the path to victory this fall. But what does that matter if you're just there as an election worker? You're not supposed to care about who wins, right? Like, your job there is to do your job. If your job as a poll worker is just to observe or just to collect the ballots and process them, that's it. there is no path to victory for poll workers. You just harvest the ballots, you count them up, and you deliver the results. That's it, depending on what your job is there. Believers will, as poll workers, the course promises, believers will be able to play a direct role in identifying and reporting irregularities in the process in real time. During his speech at the Wisconsin stop of the Courage Tour, Standifer referred to his strategy as a Trojan horse, involving an element of surprise. Quote, "They don't see it coming," Stanford told the crowd. He repeatedly noted the value of getting as deeply involved in the electoral process as possible, noting that simply volunteering as a poll watcher would not grant them as much access, which is like, man, so freaking disturbing. Stanford told The Guardian that the Lion of Judah had recruited election workers in all of the swing states, but declined to share how many people had signed up. Although voter fraud, for example, a voter casting a ballot under someone else's name or in 2 states, is exceedingly rare, Standiford's program emphasizes the unfounded claim that fraudulent voting is a persistent problem and echoes Trump's falsehoods of the 2020 election. Quote, "As an election worker, it is important to be vigilant and proactive in identifying and reporting any suspicious activity that may compromise the fairness of the election," reads the text of the training module titled Handling Fraud in Real Time. The training urges workers who have witnessed suspicious activity or irregularities to report them to the first line of Judah's fraud hotline and then to the local authorities. What? That's not how that goes, man. That's how you know this is like such freaking BS. The point here is to try to finagle the election. That's how you know that this is about finagling the election, not election integrity at all. Because if it was truly about keeping the election integrity and finding fraud and reporting fraud, the first thing you would do, presumably, is to tell the authorities, right? Presumably, the first thing you should do is to tell the authorities not to report this, to the freaking cult member, whatever you're talking about, that you belong to, I should say. So yeah, that's how you know this is all like this is all about finagling the election. Nothing more and nothing less. The fact that they are instructed to share the evidence of this with Lion of Judah before they reach out to the state authorities and report it signals, I think, that at the very least a good deal of bad faith on their part, if not almost a conspiratorial desire to undermine the results of the election. Yeah, that's it. That's really it. That's exactly it. It's to undermine the election. That's the purpose of this group. That's what God told this guy to do, okay? The Lion of Judah training program reflects a broad push by the Trump campaign and its allies to insert election-doubting Trump supporters into key roles in the 2024 presidential election. The Republican National Committee, which is chaired by Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, announced earlier this year that it planned to recruit 100,000 poll watchers as part of its election integrity plan. There's no evidence that the RNC has managed to recruit the army of poll watchers that they have promised, but election experts and voting rights groups worry that the effort could still sound out and intimidate voters. Meanwhile, in Georgia, conservative members of the state election board have worked closely with election-denying activists to change rules that govern the state's elections, making it easier for local officials to challenge the election results. We actually talked about this earlier. We talked about this. During the Courage Tour, Standifer encouraged attendees to envision its possible impact. Quote, just imagine it's election night, chaos is happening, the polls are closing, they go and volunteers are getting kicked out. But what if we had Christians across America in swing states like Wisconsin that were actually the ones counting the votes? That's a red flag. Yeah, what if we were the ones handling the votes and we just, put God's will into the system there? What if we just let's say didn't count certain votes because God willed it? What if we just whoopsie daisies lost a tranche of ballots from a certain area that is known to be Democratic in the name of God? Truly disturbing stuff. That is the stuff of nightmares. Seriously, a group of fanatics who are effectively cult members attempting to get themselves in extremely important positions during a democratic process, air quotes, as such as an election, to attempt to subvert it is pretty freaking disturbing. Not gonna lie. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. And man, if you see something, say something. And in the name of God, he requested a fire be made of the people votes that actually resemble the actions of his son. All right, folks, it's time for us to get out of here. I am hungry, folks. Folks, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. And thank you, Michael Asser, for modding the chat. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Thank you. For those of you on YouTube, keep hitting like on the stream. All right, there's been a handful of you who keep liking the stream. Thank you all. Keep subscribing. I saw one of you hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you. Keep following us here on Twitch. Abon with the 100 biddies. Thank you for your support. There are many ways of supporting the channel. Thank you for the biddies, subs, and all that awesome stuff. Consider checking out the merch store. Thank you. Join the Discord, folks. We do movie nights at the last Saturday of every month. We do movie nights, so consider joining the Discord. And it's also a way of keeping up with the channel. Thank you, Abon. Thank you, Kamikaze, and I appreciate it. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all. See ya. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.